We begin in the Middle East and with the Gulf states. Last week, 5 Middle Eastern states, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Yemen, severed ties with their neighbor Qatar. Their goal was to isolate the country politically and economically for its alleged support of terrorism. The standoff has put the U.S. in a difficult position since both sides of the dispute are American allies and because the United States has 10,000 troops based in Qatar. The State Department has offered to negotiate a resolution, but so far it has not been accepted. Joining me now for a discussion about this ongoing crisis is Hamad bin Jassim bin Jabr Al Thani. He is the former Prime Minister of Qatar and a very close friend of the President Emir and his father. I am pleased to have him back at this table. Welcome.
Thank you very much, sir.
So, the President of the United States visits Saudi Arabia, announces that he fully supports Saudi Arabia and the Emirates and others' effort against Iran to isolate Iran. Then several days later, we have an announcement that these Arab states want to isolate Qatar. Are they connected? What's going on?
Well, it's simply we've been caught by surprise because our Emir went to the conference, and I think he had a good meeting with the president, and always there is issues between our two countries or other countries, and it's been solved through the right channels. And for us, isolating Iran or it end by isolating Qatar. And they are now saying that we have a very special relation and sympathy with Iran and with the terrorism and financing the terrorism. First of all, with Iran, if you take it from commercial base, which it is very important things, Qatar may be 1% in a thousands compared to the other Gulf state, their trade with Iran. Even in Syria, we are in a different position with the Iranian in the Syrian war and with Bashar against his people. So the connection, yes, we continue to try to have a normal and a good relation with Iran because they are a neighbor and we share the gas field together, and that's normal and legitimate. And it's not only the GCC country have normal relation, but do we have a special relation with Iran against our GCC ally and brother? That's, of course, completely false. And if we are talking about terrorism, Qatar is a partner with the United States. After 9/11, your troop came in one day to Qatar, and they use all our facilities, our own facilities, before we have this big base. And we facilitate that overnight for them when they came from Saudi Arabia. Remember when Bin Laden said no Islamic State should have American troop. We received all your troop at that time. We took all the blame, and from that time, we was your partner fighting in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Yemen, elsewhere from our base. And we was taking the full security for your guys, which they are there, and host them all these years. And we've been caught by surprise to say that we are supporting terrorism. Which terrorism we are supporting?
Well, here's what they say. They say you're supporting the Muslim Brotherhood. Egypt was a member of this isolate Qatar. Clearly, the Muslim Brotherhood has a conflict with the present government. The Muslim Brotherhood is in Jordan. And there are some of those Arab countries, have a very strong feeling against the Muslim Brotherhood. They say Qatar supports them. Secondly, they say Qatar supports Hamas. Thirdly, they say Qatar supports Iran and some of its behavior which they don't approve. And those are just some of the items that they listed as to why you are not on board with isolating Iran and you're on board with supporting terrorism.
Who's isolating Iran in the Gulf and we don't isolate? Did they close the diplomatic tie with Iran and they requested in the GCC and we oppose that? They did not bring it to the GCC to close the embassies, their embassies in Iran, or close the embassies of Iran from the GCC.
GCC for purposes of the Gulf Countries Council.
Nobody bring any kind of even thinking by closing the embassies. If they will bring it, let somebody suggest it in the GCC and will be part of the GCC, but that's not happening. In fact, they did it with Qatar. And when you are talking about Islamic Brotherhood and Egypt, Islamic Brotherhood, it's a big name. with varieties of Islamic Brotherhood. There is some of them, they are part of the nation everywhere, and in the parliament in some countries, and some of them is using aggression, which we don't agree with them, and some of them is peaceful. So we need to identify what is, you know, myself, I'm against these groups by any way personally. But to take that reason against Qatar, how we support them? The Egyptian people elect them in Egypt, and Sisi and the army throw them out. Fine.
President Sisi.
President Sisi. And for us, our Emir, His Highness, he was one of the first people which he support Sisi when he come at that time, because that's Egyptian fare. But their problem, they have so many problems inside, and they need to blame somebody. Do you think Qatar have the capability to do the economic situation as what it was or what it is now in Egypt, despite all the billions being given from our other brothers in the region? I'm not sure. The Egyptians, they need to work inside Egypt more and to do what they need to do. I wish to see Egypt one of the strongest country in the world, because it's one of the Arab nation, the biggest nation.
The largest standing army?
Yes, we need that they have a strong army, because that's important for the Arab nation if it work in the Arab policy. That's one thing. In Tunisia, there is change. There was an Islamic government, and they've been taken out by the election, and another government come. Look how we are working with other governments, which they are not Islamic Brotherhoods. We support them financially. Biggest support financially for Tunis is from Qatar now. So that it means they are not Muslim Brotherhoods. Why we are supporting them? We are supporting the stability of any region ask for help. What is the benefit of a small monarchy like Qatar to unstable Egypt or any other country by Muslim Brotherhoods or any other groups? I don't think this is, if you talk with somebody at least with a reasonable mind, he will not believe. But
so what do you think is at heart here? What is the reason for this coming now? Because there has been an ongoing conversation about some countries not approving of the fact that Qatar tried to play both sides. It had friends on both sides. There's even questions that have been raised about how much funding Qatar has done to some of the Islamic groups in Syria.
Look, in Syria, everybody did mistakes, including your country. When the war or the revolution happened in Syria, all of us worked through 2 operation rooms, one in Jordan and one in Turkey. The first one was in Jordan, and there was countries, some of the GCC countries, among them the Saudis, the Emiratis, Qatar, United States, and other ally. And they was working from there, and all of us, we were supporting the same group. In Turkey, we did the same. We discovered by the time that there is some groups have other agenda, and we always eliminate them one by one. And always when we have information from our friends that this group is not, you supported wrong group sometimes,
sure,
but you stop. It doesn't mean that we did not do something wrong there, but it is intentionally we do that. That's not true, because what is the reason? If they finish with Syria, they will come to us. We know that. So for us is
the terrorist organizations.
Of course they will come to us. That's normal. Do you think that we are out of the threat? We are not out of the threat.